Alrighty, well, let's get started. Welcome everyone, and thank you for taking the time to join us today. This webinar is part of our Luxent industry series where we sit down with leaders who are actually kind of in the weeds, in the industry, in the space, running the technology for their companies. So running NetSuite and kind of using it on a day-to-day basis. So today we're talking about the medical industry. And I've got two great guests with me today, Mike Dominic, VP of IT at MarketLab, and my colleague Scott Nelson, VP of Delivery here at Luxent. All right, let's jump right into it. All right, joining us today, as I said, is Mike Dominic, Vice President of Information Technology at MarketLab. Mike is a seasoned IT leader with deep experience spanning ERP, financial systems, data management, infrastructure, software selection and implementation, and business process optimization. So lots of experience there. He has a strong track record of aligning technology strategy across complex organizations, and we're super glad to have him here today to kind of talk through what this transformation looked like at MarketLab. And then from the Luxent team, we have Scott Nelson, our Vice President of Delivery. And Scott has spent many years working hands-on with companies across the manufacturing and distribution spaces, from fast-growing emerging brands to large multinational organizations. So helping them design and implement NetSuite in a way that really supports kind of how their business is actually running and operating. And he's led dozens of implementations, including complex, manufacturing, 3PL, and even so far as international rollouts. And then finally, myself, I'm Brooke Ipis. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Luxent, and I work closely with a lot of growing brands as they scale on NetSuite, and I love learning and hearing about their stories. So I'll be your host today and guiding the conversation as we talk with Mike and Scott here. And with that, I will give you guys just a really quick introduction to Luxent, and then we'll get into the interview. So Luxent has been helping companies implement, grow, and scale on NetSuite for 16 plus years. We're a premier NetSuite solution partner, and we're a certified Suite Cloud development partner. And we cover kind of the full life cycle of your NetSuite experience. So selection, implementation, purchasing, all of those fun things. So our consultants average more than 10 years of experience, and we focus on companies in the medical device, food and beverage, wireless communication, software, and many more industries. So let's get right into it. Really quick, here's just a quick snapshot of some of the medical manufacturing and distribution companies that we've worked with and had the chance to work with. MarketLab among them, which is a really nice segue into kicking us off on our conversation today. Okay, Mike, you are on the hot seat now.
Okay.
So make sure that mic is turned on. Pun not intended. Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome.
All right. So first question here, what was that primary driver for selecting and implementing NetSuite?
Yeah. So MarketLab's been around for about 30 years and really focused on the medical profession, helping the clinicians do their job. And we've been primarily a catalog company the entire 30 years. And over the last few years, we've been transforming into a relationship-based organization. Brought on a great set of field sales teams, and that transformation really needed a technology that supported them. As anyone with a large ERP that's been around for a long time, they get baked in and optimized for a business model. And so we've changed. We really needed a new platform, new foundation that's really going to help us, modernize and kind of continuously evolve over this next decade. And so, and ultimately mitigate risk, right? Old systems, lack of support. We wanted something we could really build and invest in.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, so I know that medical companies have a little bit more of a unique kind of requirement set there. Can you give a little bit of some insight into what some of those unique requirements are and how you kind of address that entering into the NetSuite choice?
Yeah. So we may not be huge, but we've got a lot of big challenges and work with a lot of people. We work with all size customers. We have, small offices down the street, direct consumers, some of the biggest IDNs in the nation, and also the biggest distribution partners that there are. And so it really creates a lot of complexity. We're dealing with over 140,000 ship tos, adding probably 600 a week. We deal with GPOs. We're dealing with, all kinds of, differences across those. We're dealing with phone orders, web orders, EDI orders, you name it, we process it. we also have a broad product portfolio. We have over 20,000 active SKUs. And I'd say before this project, we actually had 80,000 in our system, and this project helped us rationalize those down. And we both manufacture and distribute. And it's not all medical devices, so we have some that are regulated, some that are not. And it's created a lot of challenges, right? It's a lot of things, a lot of scenarios you have to deal with that maybe a traditional plain manufacturing company doesn't have to deal with. So yeah, it's a lot of challenges, both regulatory, like I said, licensing, and of course, as I mentioned, we're transforming. So we have to be adaptable because of the market. Our customers are changing, and we have to change with them as well. So that's a really big important part for us.
It's
Oh, and I did
interesting.
forget
One of the
one big thing. In this project, we also had one key thing, which is called minimal impact to the customer. So one of our requirements in this project when we rolled this out, we didn't want to make our customers have to change to continue doing business with us after this ERP. And so that was probably a more unique requirement. I think everyone would want that. But with this level of complexity, it's hard to do. But it was one of our core requirements going into this project of being able to come out of this with that type of ability.
It's interesting. One of the things I said about you throughout the project was I've never seen a company your size accommodate their customers as much as you do.
Yeah.
Small customers, down to companies that will come to you and say, I want to order this product, and you will find a way.
Yep.
It's really impressive to see a company your size that's that adaptable to their customers.
Yeah, we take a lot of pride in being easy to work with, and being able to be that key supplier to find the things, those hard niche items that are hard to find.
Yeah, it's impressive to see. All right, so I know One MarketLab, that's something that
Yep.
was tossed around a lot during this project. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of what that means to your organization and then how
Yeah.
NetSuite kind of helped that a little bit?
Yeah. So One MarketLab's a long initiative we've had, even before I got here. And as any company, as you grow, you acquire different brands, and we take a lot of pride in those brands and that name recognition, and all those great companies that started those brands put into it. And with that said, historically, as a catalog company, we continue to transact even with our customers under those brand names. They knew those brands, they loved those brands, and they wanted to continue to interact with each one of them. So One MarketLab is the concept and is our approach to transact as MarketLab, get all those brands into our portfolio, which they already were, but operate within NetSuite in our configuration that it's one company, one set of processes with many brands that can support. And so, but part of that rationalization of this project was before NetSuite, each one of those brands had different pricing, different agreements all in place. And so part of this journey was really bringing that all together, consolidating all of our customers into all of their items, all of their pricing, all under the MarketLab entity, regardless of which brand product it is. And so it's a big journey, an extra layer of I'll say complexity. But yeah, it's been very foundational for us, I guess you'd say, because as we continue to build more partnerships or more acquisitions in the future, that is still part of our model. That fundamental having a system that can support us doing that and bring those things together is really critical for us.
So that said, those requirements, having all of those brands coming together, those
Yep.
customers coming together, those obviously created some very unique challenges, even in
Oh yeah.
in a platform as flexible as NetSuite. So I want to talk about two
Yep.
that were really kind of, I think, key to this project being as successful as it was. First would be your regulatory requirements.
Yeah.
You have a lot of regulatory requirements with selling, basically every class of medical device known to man and
Yep.
where it's going, how it's going there. Can we talk a little bit about how you address those in NetSuite and kind of how
Yeah.
NetSuite helped that?
Yep. Well, and just to call out, and some items that aren't classified, right? We're
It's
covering
true.
every scenario here.
That
And
is
so
true.
one of the critical issues for us, and again, for those familiar with the industry, and the licensing requirements. It's about where it's shipping to, not necessarily who's buying it. So, with Luxent's help, we really created a validation engine, really, that allows us to track for the items that are applicable, assign licensing requirements for those items, but also allows us to track what licenses that location has for the order, which is really instrumental for us because, yes, it's a lot of work always the first time we order, that customer orders that item. But now that we've been able to connect those into the system, their future orders are already covered. So it allows the orders to flow through so much quicker and so much less work. So that's really just one of the key components for us is, scalability and layering in that complexity of the shipping locations and licensing requirements on each item and the different classifications they have gives us a lot of great visibility and the safeguards we have to have.
And I think there's almost 30 checks.
Um,
Is it over 30 now?
I think
I think
we might be approaching 50 different validations
is
that
it
we do
50? Yeah.
on any
Uh,
ordered item or any order.
yeah. And it
So
it goes through those really fast, spits out a
yeah,
nice little checklist of which ones pass, which ones fails. You have override capabilities on some and not
yeah,
others. Um, that
yeah,
engine it's impressive to see, but I think when we were talking about this webinar, you were telling me before NetSuite, you were having
yeah.
to review every order,
Yeah.
EDI, hand entry, didn't matter where it was coming from, correct? Manually for all those?
Correct. Yeah. In our old system, our customer experience team, hats off to them. They were checking like 40, 50 things on every order, right? To make sure we had the perfect order, make sure it went through with the right one, regulatory compliance, and all the different things that they could look at, whether it be shipping information, just a ton of different things, especially with all of our different products. And one of our goals is to, become managed by exception. And this engine that we've developed with Luxent is really the game changer for us because it allows us to not just have these validation rules, but continue to add them as we find them and move into a manner that we can actually start operating by exception, regardless of how the order comes in, web, email, phone, EDI, the same checks are made. And now our customer experience team can start operating based off of where the failures and go target and address those things. Missing license, in this case, they identify it really quick. They can now go action that, collect the license, log it in the system to that customer location and process that through. And the next time it doesn't stop. So it's
Right.
a really big thing for us.
And those are things it's interesting because they're things as complex as licensing and who
Yep.
can buy what, but also you're going down to the level of is there a lift gate to deliver
Yep.
this to?
Yeah.
Is
Exactly.
there,
The dot.
storage, hazmat, like you can do so much with that
Yep.
that
That's right.
that just skips the need for somebody to manually validate.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I mean, if I'm being blunt about it, I was expecting some of those checks to be there, but the fact we were able to build this engine that does all of those type of checks, and again, I talked about adaptable at the beginning, right? The rules
Mhm.
constantly change in this world, and we wanted a platform that we could apply it and apply it consistently and actually see the results and see the trends of what is failing consistently too. That should be not overlooked, because now we can go figure out what's causing that many, failures or things that miss on those. Is there something we can put on the customer record? Maybe we forgot to file that one the last time and get it there so it doesn't keep failing. So it's
For sure.
very impressive. Um, to your point, Scott, the speed that it runs at, the visibility we now have, and the fact that we used to check that all manually is
Yeah.
wild.
It is. When you see the volume of orders, the fact that you used to do them manually is kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah,
Uh, all right, let's talk. You have a lot of vendor relationships. We
yeah,
discussed, a large part of your business is drop ship or custom special order items.
yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about, your drop ship requirements, how NetSuite's helping with you with those, and just
Sure.
kind of the the
Yeah.
efficiencies you're seeing there?
Yeah, again, historically, those were really manual, again, all manual process in the old system. There were some things designed in there, but really what NetSuite allowed us to do is one step back and really get a good holistic view in this process of how we're handling those things. And again, broad supplier base, for example. So we really started with the crawl, walk, run, that favorite phrase. And we really just started putting in at least the automations, the workflows to, both from a vendor supplier onboarding process and from a purchase order review and approval process. So as the order has passed all of those checks, comes through, can create that corresponding PO downstream with the supply chain team. They can do their proper reviews, QCs, and then send that along to our supplier. So it's really both streamlined the process, gave us a ton of visibility that we didn't have before, and really has set us up now for kind of that future roadmap, which is, finding the right partners to export EDI with, where we can take it to the next level of automation.
And then hand in hand with that, right? New suppliers constant. I know you put in a custom workflow to approve of
Yep.
those, which is an
Yeah.
interesting kind of flow. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of suppliers, as I mentioned. They come up, and again, being that partner who can find hard to find products, sometimes we're introducing new vendors at times as well. So we set up a vendor onboarding process that allows it to go through the proper checks and through the system. So as a vendor comes into our system, comes through, it goes through our supply chain team, our quality team, and our finance team to do their respective reviews and approvals. And then again, kind of hand in hand with our quality checks, our validation rules engine, it also helps us put a stop on any orders if the vendor hasn't been fully approved. So it allows everything to kind of be full circle, keeps the right checks and balances in the system while allowing us to get the orders and the processing in place. So it's kind of giving us the best of both worlds of getting it in, not setting it off to the side until all these things happened. We can do things in parallel now because we have the right safety mechanism with the validation rules.
Fantastic. So that's all you're purchasing. Now let's talk about the fun stuff and revenue. Sales. So you have obviously a lot of customers, a lot of sales channels, a lot of
Yeah.
incoming. I know your EDI is working with a lot of things.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about your EDI. Explain to people how you're dealing with that and how NetSuite's kind of working with that.
Well, one, EDI is probably the most complicated thing at this project, in my opinion. I was very close to it. And as I mentioned,
Agreed.
not asking our customers to change. So we had a lot of legacy systems or processes in place. For perspective, we average about 800 orders a day, and I'd say about 500 of those are EDI from various partners. And we get those orders through multiple channels for each one of those partners. So one major distributor might trade with us EDI through 4 different channels, which created a ton of opportunities and challenges around cross-referencing, just the overall order flow. How do you keep everything straight? Again, pricing. How do you make sure you have the right pricing on it? Because as I mentioned, part of that one MarketLab, in the past, maybe 2 different divisions of that customer or that distributor had different pricing, and they'd come through different channels. Well, how did we get that down? How do we identify those gaps when they occurred? And so once again, order validations, you'll hear me come across this a lot. All of our EDI goes into the system, gets into the queue, and can be processed, and those order validations help detect it. So common issue, customer sends in a unrecognized item number. It gets flagged as unknown. It goes into the queue for our customer experience team to look at. Other common scenario that we would have, customer sends in an interesting price. Might not align to the pricing agreement we have in place. It flags that order in those order validations to let us know, hey, customer experience should take a look at this and reconcile what this is. Maybe it was a special deal that they've worked with the sales team, but they can correct that order, maybe correct that pricing agreement, or call that customer and say, hey, could you please update your pricing in your system? But it really allows us to capture all of those orders very consistently through that EDI. So,
And I think the number you gave me the last time we spoke was 1.5 million potential cross references for
oh
items. Is
yeah.
that correct?
Yeah, so that was definitely the eye-opening event when we started doing this analysis and we looked at all the different you have your base item number in NetSuite and in our old system. But if you looked at all the different ways a customer may reference our numbers, when we materialized that process, it was over 1.5 million cross references. And so we ended up having to implement a pretty fun cross-referencing engine that allowed us to go from, customer could send in our item number. That's awesome. We love that. They can send in a global cross-reference item number. So maybe one is the numbers off our website, or they could send in their own internal item number for it with their respective unit of measure. So one of our distributors or hospitals might send in a order for item 123 with a unit of measure of case. And we can catch that and translate that to say, oh, their cases are each. They could say their pallet is our case, right? We can do that cross-referencing right in that engine so that when it gets in a NetSuite, we have not just the item, but the unit of measure correct as well. And once again, order validations, literally the heartbeat of this process will catch any anomalies or those things missing.
Yeah, that's great. All right. So you've been live now 5 months, I think we just said, right?
Yeah, 5 months.
What kind of measurable impacts are you seeing? I know there's not a lot. It takes a
Yep.
little while, right, after you go
Yeah.
live, but I'm sure there's some. What kind of measurable things are you seeing already?
Oh man. So again, like you said, we're new. Here's the first one, which I call the biggest one of all. We've had no disruption to our customers. We went live. We've continued to transact and serve our customers the same way we did before. Full truth to be told, there's a learning curve. And like with any new system, were we a little slower at first? Yes, but we had no system outages, no major customer impacts. And a testament to the entire team, the entire organization, ramping up that learning curve, running up it as fast as we could, and transacting. And we've also been very intentional about letting the dust settle and not making major changes. So the big impacts since go live have been the fact we can continue to serve our customers with minimal impact, the fact that all of our users are really still positive and like driving towards like how do we optimize it. You do these type of projects, typically somebody's thinking, gosh, I miss my old system. They haven't been. It's like, no, we love this and we want to keep investing and making it better. And the third one is we have visibility that we didn't have before, right? Our old system, we didn't have visibility to the level of the black box that we would used to call for pricing of how did we get that price? Or we didn't have visibility to the same level of visibility into the orders or why are they failing through our analyzing the order validations and what's failing there. We just have so much better visibility, and it's going to take time to really leverage that visibility because we're just building up our data set now. But it's really exciting to see what we can see and now use that to quantitatively go after and improve order efficiencies, processing efficiencies, our EDI, analyzing those trends. What are those failure points? How do we make that more streamlined? That's really exciting, and we're getting close to those things.
It's interesting. Uh, I probably met 50 people at MarketLab during this project, and
Yep.
everybody was very positive
Yeah.
about NetSuite and the opportunity and just the project in general. And the only way that I could categorize that was it came from the top down
Yep.
and how important that was. Can you talk a little bit about just the buy-in of MarketLab to this project and how key that was to the success of the project?
100% complete buy-in from the top all the way down. Every function, every individual. Everyone likes to say these projects, and the cliche thing is it's not an IT project, it's a company, it's an all company project. And absolutely true. ERPs are not about IT, they're about the business. MarketLab lived and breathed that. From the very top, from our CEO down to our lowest level employee, everybody was in. Every meeting we had started with this project. Everything we did started and ended with it. It was just, that was what we were doing. We were committed as a team to pushing this across the line. We were committed to we lived our values of customer first, ownership, right? Take ownership of driving these things to done together, doing it together, right? Those are all really, really big things. And the biggest of them all is progress over perfection. We knew we were transforming. You don't get an ERP to 100% out of the gate. And so we always had to remind ourselves progress. Are we taking a step forward? Sometimes a step forward was a step back, meaning let's simplify and take out some of the complexity of our old system to make it simple. We can always over-engineer it in the future. And so we really tried to, and we were all bought in. Everything was prioritized around this. And that's the secret to the success of this project.
And it's the opportunity of a new ERP. Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Because I think a lot of times, right, in ERP space, it's easy to go in and say, I'm going to recreate what I was doing in my old system in this new system because that's what's comfortable to me.
Yep.
But this is an opportunity. You do this once, maybe twice in your company life cycle.
Yep.
Talk to me a little bit about what that opportunity meant.
The hardest opportunity to manage, I would say. One, you're right. Everyone kind of has that old model in their head. And let's be honest, it worked. That's why they were comfortable with it. For what, take it or leave it, it did work for them. And the hard part with this is helping people see the opportunity of what could be. We use this phrase a lot, and I always joke, but if I had a magic wand, how would it work? To help unlock kind of the ways we used to do it, to think about how we could do it. And other times I wanted to put the wand away, I'll be honest. You got to manage that opportunity, and that's a lot of fun, but you have to bring people through it, and you can't forget they are people, which is a big part of this. So how do you bring the people along through the project, and one, give them permission sometimes to open up the ideas to explore those opportunities, and then also help them sometimes contain those opportunities as well. So we're not solving for the edge case. We're not solving for the what could be, but really, how are we transacting, for example? And so it's a fine line. And Scott, you're right. It's something a company a couple times in the life of a company will go through this, and they're big and they're hard, and but it's full of opportunity, and that's what I'm really proud of. We kind of seized that opportunity to both simplify, to set a foundation, and but it's also an ongoing battle. It's always an ongoing battle of opportunity of what you could do, what you should do, and questioning ourselves, is the way we used to do it the way we want to do it going forward? And I think that's the great part about our team, has been embracing that and talking through it and pressuring each other and trying to landed where we did and set ourselves up for future opportunities.
Well, and identifying those things that maybe aren't the priority at go live could be phase 2, could be phase 3. And then to your point, breathing a little bit and seeing some of those things probably fall off the board because now people are in the system and saying, well, I thought I needed this, but maybe I don't.
Yeah, that's a really big one right there, is letting people get into the system. That's why we kind of supported the minimal viable product to get live. Don't try to do everything we used to do. Progress over perfection. What you see the first week, the first month after go live, and what you think is the priority, after 3 months, you realize that wasn't the priority. That was just the initial learning curve. Yeah, I'd rather invest here and optimize something different. And so not being too quick to change as well was also very important in this process, because we keep getting smarter, and you got to be open to that.
Right, 100%. Yeah, I mean, NetSuite's, I've been telling people for years, NetSuite will be able to do anything you could possibly imagine
Yep.
as long as you have the hours available to do what
It's
you
not
want
what
to
can
do.
you do, it's what should you do.
What should you do is
And the
just
should
as
is
important as
about
what
where you're
can you
at.
do. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna just get through a couple of last things
Yeah.
here. So looking back,
Yep.
what do you think were the best decisions you made as far as configuration, whether that's integrations to systems, decisions you made on modules to use or not use, third parties, like what are looking back are the things that you're happiest with the decision that you made?
I mean, I'm going to start with one that's not actually a configuration, but it is that we lived and breathed this as a business initiative and we were all in. If we want to get technical on the decisions, like the order validation engine, um, I'm very firm on the buy, extend, then build, unless there's a core business reason. The solution we developed with order validations is 100% the lifeblood of what we built to unlock our scalability and what it gives us in terms of today, but what we can do in the future and drive that automation and that efficiency is the biggest thing for us.
And something you
Another
could have probably spent a year looking for a third party to do and ended up right back to building, more than
We could have
likely.
done that. We could have gone crazy and built 45,000 different scripts and other things. And
Mm-hmm.
the way, not just what it does, but how we did it, the fact that it applies regardless of how the order comes in. It's applied consistently. If we need to add one, we add it in one spot. We're not jumping around to 50 spots to try to keep track of this change. Um, it literally is both a massive impact for the business in terms of value. It's also very scalable. It's very supportable. It's very adaptable. And that just hits on everything that's fundamental with how we believe our system should operate. So that by
Great.
far is the biggest one. In the project, we also made a couple other pivots. We pivoted. We initially went into it with planning NetSuite WMS, but we did pivot to RF Smart, and because going through this phase, we got smarter and we realized there's some capabilities we could have probably customized and configured in WMS. But again, as I just mentioned, buy over build. We decided to pivot and go to RF Smart to get some features and functionality that was where we both needed to be with some of our shipping requirements, I'll say, and also where we knew we wanted to go in the future. And so after we became smarter, as we went through the discovery and the early phase of the project, we let ourselves get smarter and made the decision to say, hey, you know what? Let's pivot because the right long-term solution. And so we pivoted over to RF Smart for our distribution side of the house, which is awesome.
And you also have, so integrations wise, you
Yep.
have a unique combination because you're using middleware for
Yep.
some. You're also doing direct API integrations with some.
Correct.
Um, talk a little bit about what that flexibility that NetSuite gave you to do both of those kind of builds for the future.
It doesn't limit us, right? That's the big thing. It gives us options, right? Again, that adaptability. And look, we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring in terms of technology, but I have access to the data. I can get data in and out of the systems. I can lean on a great um, large portfolio of companies that work with and build solutions within NetSuite, plug them in. To your point, some of those integrations are standard integrations. And when we have a business case for some of the other ones, we were able to, integrate our website, which is not a typical website platform that has a existing integration. It'd been great if it did, but we were able to make that happen. We have another solution, our Numina RDS solution, that does our directed picking solution, which is a phenomenal system for us. And we were able to connect that into NetSuite. So we have options, and that's great for our scalability.
Absolutely. All right. So now I've got to pay some of our bills a little bit.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about working with Luxent. How did
Yep.
Luxent work with you? What do you think worked? And how,
Yeah.
where we really work
Yeah.
together well.
Yeah. So here's what I would say. First of all, for anybody, there are a lot of great companies out here. And the most important thing is to find a partner that aligns to you as an organization. In MarketLab, while we're a good sized company, we do a lot of complex things. We needed a partner that could be shoulder to shoulder with us and help us along the way. Be in the trenches, so to speak, with us, be committed to the outcome, be flexible to the process, because we don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. Together, we have the answers. And that's really what we needed. We needed that partner that could, have the resources, that could be in the trenches with us. You could be wearing the same, same logoed shirt because we're all in it as one, right? It didn't matter. And that was really what it was about. It's about that partnership. It's about that commitment, the ability to have open, honest, sometimes hard conversations, trying to work through a hard problem, and fully engaged, top to top, everyone on the team. That's really what made the difference in terms of the partnership and why, we value our Luxent, connection, right? This has been a great partnership throughout it. And that's really what, was the secret for us. These projects are hard. These projects are long, and you want somebody that's in the trenches with you to figure it out and help you along the way. And that's really what Luxent was for us. And that's why, we value this partnership.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Mike. We love to hear that, obviously.
Yeah.
And we're, so happy that the partnership is going well and that we're doing great things with you guys. And it's really cool to see that transformation that NetSuite has had on your guys' business. It's incredible to see just the flexibility that you guys have gained and all of the different kind of automation levels. And, it's pretty incredible. It's a big machine to move, and it's a lot of moving pieces. So all right. Well, I have one last question for you, and then I will close this out here. But we have a lot of other medical device and manufacturing distribution companies on the call here today. And what kind of advice would you give them as they are beginning their either NetSuite evaluation or they're already in an implementation? What kind of advice would you give them there?
Oh, man.
Big question.
Yeah. One, be flexible, be open-minded. What it looks like today might not be how it needs to look in the future. So be open to that. But I'm going to go a little, I won't say off technology, but it is really off technology. It's really about how you manage the change in your organization. The other thing we did a really good job of, and we're not great at it, but we're, again, progress. You have to bring your organization along through the entire journey. If you don't, you got to start on day one. This isn't just to go live, but you really got to manage that change. Pick a philosophy like AdCar, bring the organization along so they're coming with you through the whole journey, so they know what to expect, how they're going to feel going through this, right? Managing that change and adopting new ways of looking at things. When you do that, people can meet you where you are. So when the process looks a little different, when I go from being the expert in using the old system to slow at using the new system because I've got to learn the new process, they will understand that that's just part of the journey, and they will work their way through it a lot quicker. And so, NetSuite's been great for us. I'm excited about our future with it and what it's going to do. And it is technology. You've got to bring the people along with you. And when you do both of those, you're going to be successful.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Mike. That was really great and really awesome to hear that it's not only just about the technology, which is hard to kind of wrap your mind around. Like this is a big technology process. How do we get the team, and
Yeah.
something that we talk about here at Luxent all the time, and Scott talks about it often as the VP of delivery here, is just like that change management process and that whole movement forward. So
Yeah.
that's a big piece, and it's a hard one to kind of get around.
It is. It is.
So
And when you have a great partner like Luxent, it makes it a little easier, So
yes.
thank you. I appreciate everything you guys have done as well.
Well, we love to hear that. All right, team. Well, I'm going to share my screen again and just kind of close us out. Um, and we can kind of move forward here. All right. So before we wrap up today, I just kind of want to walk through what the next steps looks like if you are in your NetSuite journey looking to either select, purchase, wherever you're at. First off, if you'd like to see NetSuite kind of come to life, join us for our webinar on May 21st. We're going to do an actual kind of NetSuite demonstration. So what it looks like in the medical device space, kind of like how that's working out within the actual system of NetSuite. After that, step 2 is to schedule a discovery call with the Luxent team, and we can kind of walk you through, learn a little bit more about your business process and what those next steps could look like. But if you're not quite ready to start your NetSuite journey, but you'd like to continue to learn more, there will be a survey that pops up at the end of this call today. So feel free to select, that you want to be a part of our newsletter or want to get some more information, and we're happy to kind of keep you guys connected in that way. So as I wrap up here, I want to give a big thank you to Mike and to Scott. This was a great conversation, really eye-opening, I think, and it's really awesome to be able to hear from people that have boots on the ground, people that are actually working in the system and using the system and doing those things. We at Luxent can talk about it till we're blue in the face, but until they actually hear that from, people hear that from people that are using the system, it doesn't mean as much. So thank you guys so much again. And as a quick reminder, May 21st, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 o'clock Eastern, we will be having our medical industry NetSuite demo. So talk to everyone soon, and we hope to see you on our next demo. Thank you so much.